Okay, so we've talked about intensity of state. Now, we're going to talk about timing of anchor. When do you set the anchor? So whenever we think about any emotional state, they come in a wave, right? So the emotion comes and it gets stronger, and then it crests, and then it begins to diminish. And so what you want to become aware of is when inside that process are you going to set your anchor? Now, we kind of know the answer to this already intuitively. So let's look at different experiences in your life where there are intense emotions and how we naturally anchor them anyway. So if you think about like a birthday party, for example, a surprise birthday party, we want to capture that surprise. The person walks through the door, you have your camera ready, and you think about, you want to capture the moment of surprise. And so the person comes in, and then the lights come on, everyone goes, surprise! You have your camera rolling for when you capture that peak state of surprise. If you turn your camera on after the peak of the surprise, you missed all the good stuff. Okay? And the same thing is true with your anchor. When the person goes into the state, you want to anchor right as they start to go into the peak. You don't want to wait until after the surprise has happened. You don't want to wait until after the emotion is at its peak. This is the juice. You want to capture it as it's going into state, right? Now think about a roller coaster. If you've ever seen these roller coasters, they put the cameras, they time the cameras to capture right as the roller coaster drops down like this. And right when that roller coaster drops down, that's when the adrenaline kicks up, right? So the roller coaster drops down and then your momentum just goes boom, right? Well, that's when they time the camera for the peak emotional intensity. Right as that fall drops, the intensity shoots through the roof. They snap the picture. They zoom in on the moment when the emotions begin to crest. And you must begin to train yourself as a good neurolinguistic programmer to notice when people are going into state. And that's the point at which you want to do something to grab a hold of it. And so however you're going to set that anchor, either auditorily or visually, or you're going to touch in a certain way, depending on the context and how you're going to use these anchors, you want to set the anchor as they go into the state. And you also want to release the anchor before the state starts to diminish. Remember, whatever you pair with this emotion, you're going to get back. So we want to pair going into the peak of that. We don't want to pair coming out of it. The timing of this is one of the keys to becoming really skillful. Practice this by, one, yourself, going into the state over and over and over again, and then starting to set your anchor after you have calibrated to yourself and what it's like as you go into the peak. So then as you step into the state and you recognize, oh, okay, I'm going into the peak, that's when you fire your anchor. As you go into the peak, and then before the peak starts to leave, you let go of the anchor. Now, if you're gonna work with somebody else, it's a good idea for you to have them access the state a couple of times until you can calibrate to their state changes. What changes in their physiology when they go into the peak? Do their breathing shift? Does their posture shift? Tension in the muscles around their face? What changes for them? So you're really going to learn to develop the ability to zoom in on what changes are happening as they go in to the peak is the moment you set your anchor. Now, in the next video, we're talking about the uniqueness of your anchor. Why is it so important to create a unique stimulus to pair with this emotion?